This piece is from my personal collection. This was given to me in the 90s by a coworker who said they had gotten it in Indonesia back in the 1970s when they were traveling. It was gifted to me as a birthday present because they knew that I liked edged weapons and so forth. This is a Keris, K-E-R-I-S, or Chris, as some may refer to it. I believe the proper term is Keris. There are many styles of these. They have so much detail that goes into them, so many intricate little parts that I'm not exactly sure how this is classified. I know it's more of just a common piece. It's not something elaborate. This is not made of, like elephant tusk or rhinoceros horn or anything like that. It's not embedded with any jewels or gold, as you can see. It does have two faces in the underside here. So there's a face carved here and a face carved here. They have meanings and so forth. I don't know exactly what all of the parts mean. I have kind of looked it up. I've done some research on it, enough to know that it is just a standard basic Keris. These things are made especially by what is called a Pandai Keris, the maker of the Keris. And they go through intricate training on how to make these and years of practice. The things have a lot of detail to them, to the point that ones that are made especially like for royalty and so forth can take months and years to make, depending on how intricate the details are. This one, I guarantee, was not like that. Supposedly the story that was told to me by the person that gave it to me is this is supposed to be around 300 years old. That's what they said. I know there are people that make forgeries and so forth. It could be a knockoff. It could not. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe it is 300 years old. But even still, if it is, it's just a very basic form of the Keris. So with that said, these are made with a lot of ceremony, a lot of prayer, a lot of ritual that goes into them, even to the point that the Pandai Keris, when he is making the piece, depending on who he's making it for, he will even wear different types or color of clothes as far as to go with who it is he's making it for. So they are very, very much embedded into status and culture and just the blade being made especially for the person that it's going to. So it's very much a status thing to have. This one, as you can see, I've been afraid to do any actual cleaning on it. I don't want to mess up the metal or anything. There are instructions online. I would rather have somebody do it professionally, knows what they're doing, where you clean it with different solutions, one being almost like a lemon juice type solution, and then coating it with arsenic to bring out the nickel color. You can see there are some shiny spots and some dark spots. It's made of various metals, several different types of steel, and a nickel-based steel. The ones that have been dipped and etched and everything, you can actually see the fold lines. On this one, it's not going to show up probably on this camera at the moment, but you can see the wave patterns where it's been folded over, where the metal's been folded. But when you etch it and dip it with the arsenic, it really brings out those high definition, silver looking lines in the metal when it's taken care of properly. Like I said, I've had this since the late 90s, but I don't want to do something that's going to mess it up. Kerises are very, like I said, very complicated in the way that they're classified and identified. They have particular names for the types of carvings that go into the handle, what the handle's made of, where the blade is made goes into the actual name of what they would classify it as, depending on where it's made, the region or location. Some blades have, this one is, like I said, is a very standard basic blade. A lot of the blades have a wave pattern to them. The blade actually curves back and forth, almost like a snake crawling along. And there are different names for like each curve I believe they're called locks or lokes, L-O-K. You'll have like lock 1, lock 2, and there's different meanings to those specific locks. I do not know all of that. Some of the blades are made with little jagged inserts and little cuts and little pieces, and there are actual names for all those little pieces of the blade that have been notched and inserted, and it's just amazing how much detail goes into them. Like I said, you can see this is just a fairly straight blade. It just has the single tail. It doesn't have a lot of the elaborate carving and notching on the front. It doesn't have the back cutting. And as you can see, the way that they're assembled, it's made with a very small point here. These are definitely a stabbing weapon. They are not a hacking, slashing weapon. And they would actually coat these with arsenic as a way to help kill their enemy if they were to end up stabbing someone with these. From what I've read online, they would use these to actually stab and then snap the handle off, snap it off so that that stayed in the person. Or if you stabbed between the ribs and twisted and pulled out, it would leave flakes of the metal with the arsenic on it, rubbing against the bone as it comes out of the person, and slowly kill the person from the inside with flakes of poisoning. So very excruciating to use on someone. And it's a very slender piece and a very short piece, and it would definitely go through between the ribs easily if you know what you're doing and how to use it. This does not have a very, very well-defined point on it. But again, it's been, if it's 300 years old, I mean, it's definitely not going to be in tip-top shape because it's needing some cleaning and some care, honestly. I just don't know who to contact for that. At one point back years ago, I contacted the Antiques Roadshow and tried to ask some of their experts about it, and they basically emailed me back and said, yeah, we don't know anything. So that didn't go anywhere, trying to classify it through them or to have them try to take a look at it or look it up. Honestly, they just didn't want to be bothered with it. And after looking at the amount of information I found online, I can understand why. But I really like this piece. I mean, it's not something I functionally use, but it's cool to have it to, to show to people, get it out. And I do clean it somewhat with some basic cleaners. These dark markings, imprints, fingerprints, blood, whatever it may be that's got these dark markings on here, they were here before I got it. I am touching the blade. Yes, I know you're not supposed to touch metal. It'll rust, especially when it's real metal like this. It will rust, but I will go through and clean this again before I put it back up. But all these dark spots were here when I received this item. So the only thing I really majorly cleaned up on, this up here because it had just accumulated years of gunk and grime and people touching it and so forth. And it had become very dull and lackluster, and I went through and did a lot of cleaning on it. I didn't actually remove any of the finish or restore it in any way. I just cleaned it really nicely so that you could tell, how nice the handle was on it. So it is just a very nice piece, and the hilt here, the scabbard here, there's a different name for it. These all have different names, then it's not called a scabbard. But this is actually made as a dual piece with a wrap that goes around the wood to give it a little more decoration. So that just gives it a little, dresses it up a little bit. And this is the Keris. I cleaned up on this as well. This was looking the same as the handle was. It was really neat and cleaned up when I got it, as well as the copper wrap on it. It was really, really tarnished bad. I need to spruce it back up a little bit more again, just because it sits on a shelf and it doesn't like to sit on a shelf. So, but that's one of my pieces from my collection that hopefully is honestly 300 years old, as was informed, but only time would tell if I find somebody that can actually truly classify it and knows what they're looking at when they look at this. But whether it is or not, it really isn't a big deal because I like it. But an Indonesian Keris, or Chris, a soul dagger, as some people report it to be, because of the fact, like I said, it's made for the person. It is made specifically for the person who commissions it. So all of the rituals, all the prayers, all of everything that goes into it is made for that person. So for just a moment here, I will put up a graphic insert that I found that gives an example of the various naming and so forth of the intricate carvings and stuff on the edge of the blade. Depending on what website you go to, and I guess depending on the region where it's from or which country, they're all called by different names. There are, I guess, Indonesian names and then names with other locations as well. I found so much stuff when I was researching this that it's just, for me anyway, it was just almost overwhelming trying to figure out, okay, which is the accurate naming, which one goes with this blade, so on and so forth. But like, as this graphic insert will show, there are various names for all kinds. Like this blade doesn't have it, but you'll see in the image there's all these different markings and notches and little decorative cuts on the blade right here. And as I said, you know, as you saw that image, all the little names and stuff for the parts, looking at other websites, they've got different names for them. And I'm assuming that's based on location or country, nationality, you know, so forth. So it's a really fun piece to research. I just wish I had more definitive answers exactly on this piece, because it would just be nice to know exactly what to call it besides just a Keris or a Chris. If it has an actual locale name or anything like that. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this review on this. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. This is a new channel for me. I've just started this one to do reviews of various items, weaponry, so forth. So I hope you have enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.